I always hated the red napkins. They were my mom's statement, as if linen could announce wealth louder than the chandelier. The night I introduced Jonah to my parents, those napkins were folded into little fans on our plates like warning flags. My dad sat at the head of the table, tapping his wine glass the way he does when he's trying to appear relaxed, index finger drumming, eyebrows politely arched. Mom had her charity chair smile on, the one that means she's judging your shoes. Jonah, she said, rolling the H as if it were foreign. What do your parents do? He answered easy. Mom's a nurse. Dad runs a body shop. You could practically hear the forks clink tougher against the china. I had prepped him. I said, just be yourself. Don't over-explain. Don't apologize. My parents believe money is a personality test you either pass or fail, and Jonah had the audacity to show up with calluses on his hands. He wasn't flashy, that's what I love about him. He fixes bikes. He laughs from the chest. He talks to waiters like they're people. When we met, I was stuck in a lavender-scented cloud of career networking brunches, and he showed up to tune my derailed chain at the co-op. He smelled faintly of citrus degreaser and rain. He said, "You look like you're about to cry," and I did, instantly, because my parents had just texted me a photo of a condo they'd secured in my name if I chose wisely. Jonah listened. Then he handed me a rag for the tears. At dinner, Dad cut into the steak and into Jonah at the same time. What's your 5-year plan? Jonah glanced at me, then back at Dad. Keep the shop open, hire a second tech, maybe start a program for kids who want to learn. Not everyone can afford to pay a repair bill. Mom smiled tight. How noble. I tried to steer. Jonah's already been doing workshops. Dad waved his fork. Workshops don't pay property taxes. There's a thing my parents do when they don't like someone, they start small. Questions turn into audits. Compliments turn into traps. I thought I had a few months before it escalated. I underestimated them. After dessert, Mom insisted on a tour for Jonah, which really meant her showing off the 2-story closet. She opened a drawer like a magician revealing doves, velvet trays, a lake of metal and glass. Family pieces, she said, resting a manicured finger on a bracelet with a garden of diamonds. One of a kind. Insured, of course. Jonah nodded, polite, hands firmly in his pockets. Later, while he helped me wash the red napkins, I whispered, "You okay?" "Is this what it's always like?" he asked, half smile, half flinch. "Sometimes they're worse," I admitted. "Sometimes they're bored." He kissed my forehead and said, "I can handle bored." When he left, I walked him to the curb. We joked about the steak being aggressively medium. He texted me when he got home. Everything felt normal for about 12 hours. The next morning, Mom banged on my bedroom door like the house was burning. "Maya," she snapped, breathless, eyes bright in that way that means she's excited to be outraged. "The diamond garden bracelet. It's gone." I stared, still foggy. "What do you mean, gone?" "Missing." She tasted the word. "And the last person in that room who isn't family was your friend." The way she said friend made my stomach drop. Red napkins. Warning flags. I should have known. I swear, my mom was almost gleeful. That's the only word for it. She marched me down to the closet like she was unveiling a crime scene on one of her true crime shows. The drawer was half open, the velvet tray empty where the bracelet had been. She didn't even give me a chance to blink before she said it again. It was him. Jonah. I felt this weird heat rush through me, like my body was about to fight or faint. "Are you serious? You think Jonah stole it? Last night? In front of us?" My dad appeared behind us, already in his robe, sipping coffee like this was a board meeting. "We're not saying," he started, which is his code for "we are absolutely saying." But there's no other explanation. That bracelet was here yesterday. Now it's gone. I wanted to scream. Instead, I made my voice as flat as I could. Maybe you misplaced it. Maybe you. Don't be ridiculous, Mom snapped. I know where my things are. That boy had shifty hands, I saw it. No, you didn't. My voice cracked. You made him keep his hands in his pockets the whole time, remember? She waved me off. It was too convenient. He probably slipped it out when I turned to show the brooches. People like that know how to make things disappear. People like what, Mom? I asked, and there it was, that flash in her eyes that said she'd been waiting for me to open that door. People who grow up counting every dollar, she said, lips curling like she'd tasted something bitter. People who see what others have and think they're entitled to it. My dad set down his coffee. We need to be careful how we handle this, Maya. This isn't just about a bracelet. If word gets out. I almost laughed. Word gets out? Like they had a reputation to protect, like the neighborhood HOA would care about a missing diamond trinket. I left them mid-speech and locked myself in my room. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely type. I texted Jonah. Me, bracelet missing. They think you took it. Jonah, are you kidding me? Me, I wish. Jonah, want me to come back, talk to them? Me, no. That's exactly what they want. Just, stay away for now. I knew my parents too well. They weren't panicking, they were planning. This wasn't about a bracelet. This was about control. They wanted Jonah gone, and they were willing to paint him as a thief to make it happen. But here's the thing, my parents always underestimated me. They thought I was the soft one, the daughter who'd smile and nod and eventually cave to their version of the future. They forgot I'd been watching them my whole life, how they scheme, how they spin stories, how they bury people under facts that aren't facts at all. And if they wanted to play games with Jonah, they were about to find out I could play, too. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying dinner in my head, every glance, every move, every second. And slowly, the memory sharpened, the way my mom had angled her body between Jonah and that drawer, the way she'd kept touching the bracelet while she bragged about it, the strange little smile when she closed it. That bracelet hadn't been stolen. It had been planted. And I was going to prove it. The next few days felt like living in a soap opera I never auditioned for. My parents moved quickly, like they'd already scripted the whole thing. By breakfast, Mom was on the phone with an old friend from the club, casually mentioning a suspicious incident with one of my associates. Dad dropped lines about unsavory company while reading the paper, as though Jonah had already been convicted. They didn't outright forbid me from seeing him. That would have been too obvious. Instead, they leaned on shame and suspicion. We're just trying to protect you, Maya, Mom said one morning, her voice all velvet daggers. You deserve someone who can give you stability. Not someone who makes things disappear. I wanted to throw my orange juice in her face. Instead, I smiled sweetly and said, maybe the bracelet will reappear once you stop talking about it. Her jaw tightened. Bullseye. Jonah, meanwhile, was furious, but in that quiet way he gets, where he just folds his arms and goes still. Your parents actually think they can frame me, he said over the phone, voice low. Like, what's their endgame? Call the cops? Have me arrested for a bracelet I never touched? I hesitated. Honestly? I think they'd do it. That silence on the other end of the line was heavier than anything. I hated that I'd dragged him into this circus. But then my brain caught on something. The bracelet. The insurance. I remembered Mom's exact words, one of a kind. Insured, of course. Of course. I pulled up her desk drawer while she was in the garden, rifled through the file folders she labeled like military operations. And there it was, in thick cream paper, valuable jewelry insurance policy, updated 3 days before our dinner. 3 days. Before. My heart hammered. It was so obvious. She hadn't just staged the theft, she'd prepped for it. The missing bracelet wasn't a loss, it was a payday. And Jonah was her scapegoat. That night, I laid it out for him in the parking lot of his shop, under the flickering yellow lights. She insured it right before dinner, I said, shoving the photocopy at him. They want to claim it's stolen, collect the money, and ruin you in the process. 2 birds, 1 diamond bracelet. Jonah stared at the paper, then at me. His jaw worked like he was grinding glass. So what do we do? Call them out? Go to the police first? Not yet, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. If we go too soon, they'll twist it. We need proof. Actual proof. Jonah looked at me like I'd grown an extra head. You're serious? Dead serious, I said. They think I'm naive. That's their mistake. We play it smart, we catch them in their own trap. He was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, this grin crept across his face, the kind of grin that said I'm in, no matter how crazy this is. All right, Sherlock, he said. What's step 1? I leaned back against his car, staring up at the buzzing street light. Step 1, I thought, was the hardest, getting close enough to my parents' scheme without tipping them off. And I already knew where to start, Mom's best friend, Linda. The woman couldn't keep a secret to save her life. If Mom had bragged to anyone, it would be Linda. And if I could get her talking, the whole house of cards might collapse. If there's one thing I learned growing up in my parents' world, it's that the richest gossip doesn't come out of anger or bitterness, it comes out of boredom mixed with alcohol. Which is why, on Saturday afternoon, I found myself at my mother's garden luncheon, trying not to choke on the smell of roses and self-importance. Linda was there, of course. She's basically my mom's echo chamber, except with less filter. Big blonde curls, diamond earrings the size of grapes, and a voice that always sounded 2 octaves too high after her 3rd glass of champagne. I slid into the seat next to her when Mom got up to check on the caterers. That meant she was in the kitchen yelling at the staff for folding napkins wrong. Linda, I said, keeping my tone casual, Mom's been stressing a lot lately. You know why? She giggled, leaning closer. Oh, honey, she's always stressing. But this time, she paused dramatically, as if rehearsing for an audience. She's got plans. Big ones. My stomach tightened. Plans? Linda lowered her voice like she was about to share nuclear codes. You didn't hear this from me, but she's going to cash out on that old bracelet. Said she finally found a way to make it worth something without having to wear the gaudy thing. I forced a laugh. Without wearing it? Linda sipped her drink, pink lipstick smudging the rim. Insurance, darling. Brilliant move. Only problem is, she leaned even closer, so close I could smell her perfume. She needed a story. A thief. And lucky her, you brought one home for dinner. I froze, every muscle screaming not to react. Linda's eyes twinkled like she'd just shared the juiciest scandal. I managed to breathe out, wow. That's something. Before Mom returned, her smile sharp as glass. The rest of the luncheon was a blur of laughter and lemon tarts, but inside I was vibrating with rage. Linda had confirmed everything. My parents weren't just framing Jonah to get rid of him, they were turning him into a pawn in their own financial scam. When I left, I drove straight to Jonah's shop. He was wiping grease off his hands when I burst in, my hair still smelling of roses and resentment. They told Linda, I said, slapping my purse on the counter. They literally bragged about it. Insurance scam, using you as the cover story. Jonah dropped the rag. So what now? We've got hearsay and one drunk gossip. That won't hold in court. I know, I admitted. But it's a start. We need something undeniable. He rubbed the back of his neck, leaving a streak of oil. Your mom's not stupid. She won't just leave evidence lying around. Maybe not, I said slowly, but she loves to hear herself talk. If we get her bragging again, this time on record. Jonah's eyes lit up. A recording. I nodded. Exactly. We set her up, get her to spill everything, and then we've got proof she can't twist. For the first time since the whole nightmare began, I felt like I could breathe. We had a plan. Of course, plans have a way of unraveling, especially when your enemies sleep under the same roof as you. Because the very next day, my dad cornered me in the hall with that calm, lawyerly tone he uses when he's about to cut someone to pieces. Maya, he said. You need to end things with Jonah. Tonight. For your own good. And the way he said it? It wasn't a suggestion. It was a threat. Dad always had this way of speaking that made even normal sentences sound like contracts. Standing there in the hall, blocking the light with his broad frame, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His calm was the weapon. I'm not asking you, he said, arms crossed. I'm telling you. End things with Jonah. Tonight. I crossed mine right back, though my knees were shaking. And if I don't? His mouth twitched like he almost pitied me. Then we'll have no choice but to protect this family from him. From his type. His type. That phrase made my blood boil. You mean honest? Hardworking? Not dripping in gold like you two? Dad's eyes hardened. I mean reckless. Dangerous. Desperate. People like him don't care who they hurt to get ahead. He's already shown that. You mean with the bracelet? I snapped. The one Mom insured 3 days before dinner? That rattled him. Just a flicker, but I caught it, the blink, the shift in his jaw. He hadn't expected me to know. You don't know what you're talking about, he said finally, his tone sliding back into control. Drop it. Drop him. Or you'll regret it. Then he walked away, leaving me standing there in the echo of my own heartbeat. That night, I called Jonah and told him everything. My dad's ultimatum, his slip-up, the way he'd practically confirmed the insurance scheme with his silence. Jonah listened, quiet as always, until I finished. So they're doubling down, he said. Yeah. My voice cracked. They're not going to stop unless we stop them. He sighed, long and tired. You sure you want to keep fighting this, Maya? You could walk away. Just, let them have their little scheme. Save yourself the pain. I felt my throat tighten. Jonah, they're trying to ruin you. I'm not walking away from that. There was silence, then his voice softened. Okay. Then we do this together. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept pacing, thinking about Dad's words, protect this family. That was his favorite excuse. Protecting the family name. Protecting the investments. Protecting the image. But never actually protecting me. The next morning, Mom tried to butter me up with fresh croissants and her faux concerned voice. Sweetheart, I hope you really think about what your father said. Jonah is only going to drag you down. I smiled sweetly, because I'd already made my choice. Don't worry, Mom. I'm thinking about everything. What I didn't say was that Jonah and I had spent half the night sketching out a plan. If my parents wanted to frame him, then fine, we'd turn the frame around. Let them walk themselves into their own trap. We'd start small, get Mom talking. She loved to gloat, and I knew just how to bait her. A few innocent questions, a little faint guilt on my part, and she'd do the rest. But I also knew this wouldn't just be about catching her words. My dad was too careful. He'd see through it if it was only me. We needed someone else. Someone they trusted. Someone who could play dumb better than I could. And unfortunately, I knew exactly who that someone had to be. Linda. If I could rope Linda into this, even by accident, my parents wouldn't suspect a thing. They'd think they were bragging to a friend, not confessing to their daughter. It was risky. Messy. Potentially explosive. But it was the only way to get proof strong enough to take them down. And so, I made the call. Hi, Linda? It's Maya. I was wondering if you're free for lunch tomorrow. I could really use some advice about Jonah. Her delighted gasp on the other end told me I'd baited the hook perfectly. Meeting Linda for lunch was like setting a mousetrap with a piece of cake instead of cheese. She waltzed into the cafe in her usual cloud of perfume and sparkly accessories, kissed me on both cheeks like we were in Paris instead of a strip mall, and ordered the most expensive rose by the glass. "So," she said, stirring her drink with a straw like it was a cocktail, "what's this about Jonah? Trouble in paradise already?" I clasped my hands together, forcing my face into worried daughter mode. "I don't know, Linda. My parents keep saying things. About money. About trust. And I don't know what to believe anymore." Her eyes lit up like a chandelier. That was the thing about Linda, she didn't just like gossip, she lived for the chance to be the one with all the answers. "Well," she leaned in, voice dropping, "between us girls, your parents aren't wrong to worry. That boy's already gotten himself into a mess." I tilted my head, feigning confusion. "Mess?" Linda smirked, like she was about to reveal state secrets. "The bracelet, darling. Honestly, it's better that he took it. Your mother was smart enough to get it insured beforehand. She practically said so herself." I let my eyes widen. "Wait, insured? Before?" "Of course." Linda tapped her glass, satisfied with herself. "She told me all about it at the garden party. It was practically her safety net. Said if Jonah did something stupid, at least she'd profit." I nearly dropped my fork. She'd said it. Out loud. I pretended to choke on a laugh, covering my mouth with a napkin to hide the tiny recorder tucked inside my sleeve. Every word Linda spilled was being captured. "You mean," I lowered my voice to a whisper, like I was scared to even say it. "You mean they wanted this to happen?" Linda's eyes gleamed. "Your parents are geniuses, Maya. They're just protecting you from throwing your life away on someone beneath you. You should be thanking them." That nearly broke my act. Thanking them? For framing my boyfriend as a thief and cashing in an insurance scam? I had to bite my tongue so hard I tasted blood. We chatted for another half hour, Linda blissfully unaware she was handing me the ammunition I needed. By the time she left, air-kissing me again, promising to pray for me, I had 30 full minutes of her parroting my mother's scheme into my recorder. That night, Jonah and I sat in his shop's back office, listening to her voice replay on a loop. He kept pausing, rewinding, staring at me with a mix of disbelief and pride. "You did it," he said finally. This is real proof, Maya. They can't twist this." I nodded, but my stomach twisted. "It's not enough. They'll just say Linda misheard, or made it up. We need them saying it. My mom. My dad. In their own words." Jonah leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "And how do we do that?" That was the question burning a hole in my chest. I had a recording, yes. But it was second-hand gossip. If we were going to stop my parents from dragging Jonah through the mud, we needed the source. Which meant I was going to have to look my mother in the eye, play the dutiful daughter again, and coax her into confessing her little masterpiece of a crime. And this time I couldn't afford to slip. Because if she caught on, the trap would snap shut on me instead. I spent the whole week rehearsing in my head. Not what I'd say, my mom was too sharp for anything scripted, but how I'd look. Vulnerable. Hesitant. Almost ready to break up with Jonah, but needing her wisdom to push me over the edge. If I looked too confident, she'd sniff it out. If I looked too angry, she'd go defensive. No, this needed to be the performance of my life. So on Thursday night, I knocked on her study door. She was at her desk, glasses perched on her nose, flipping through financial statements like bedtime stories. "Mom?" I asked softly. "Can we talk?" Her eyes flicked up, calculating instantly. "Of course, sweetheart. Sit down." I perched on the edge of the chair, wringing my hands for effect. I don't know what to do about Jonah. I love him, but I can't stop thinking about the bracelet. About what you and Dad said. What if you're right? Her lips curved into that satisfied smile, the one she wore when she was winning. We only want what's best for you, Maya. Surely you see now. He's not trustworthy. I let my voice wobble. But, what if it wasn't him? What if I'm wrong to suspect him? That got her. She leaned forward, lowering her voice like she was letting me in on a family secret. Sweetheart, you're not wrong. That boy walked into this house and the bracelet was gone the next morning. Do you really think that's coincidence? I swallowed, pretending to be torn. But, it's insured, right? You said that to Linda. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Linda talks too much. Please, Mom, I whispered, lowering my gaze. Just, tell me the truth. I need to hear it from you. Did you plan for this? The silence stretched. My heart pounded so hard I thought she might hear it. Then, slowly, she reached across the desk and took my hand. Maya, she said, her tone almost gentle, sometimes in life, you have to protect what's yours. That bracelet was insured, yes. I made sure of it. So if Jonah decided to be stupid, at least we wouldn't be the ones losing. I froze, keeping my expression carefully blank while inside my chest fireworks were going off. She'd said it. She'd finally said it. And the insurance? I asked, pushing one step further. Her smile sharpened. We'll file the claim next week. Quietly. By then, Jonah will be out of your life. It's better this way. I nodded, feigning submission, while the tiny recorder in my jacket pocket blinked its silent red light. Every word she said was mine now. When I finally slipped out of her study, my hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped the recorder. I shut myself in my room, pressed play, and heard her voice again. That bracelet was insured. I made sure of it. So if Jonah decided to be stupid, at least we wouldn't be the ones losing. Proof. Not gossip. Not second-hand chatter. Direct evidence. I texted Jonah one word, got it. He called immediately, his voice thick with relief. Maya, this is enough to clear me. They can't keep pushing this now. But even as he spoke, I felt the pit in my stomach grow. Because clearing Jonah was one thing. Exposing my parents? That was another. And once this went public, there would be no going back. No forgiveness. No pretending. No family dinners with red napkins ever again. I wasn't sure I cared. But I was sure they were going to fight back when they realized what I had. And my dad, especially, never lost without a war. The morning after I caught Mom on tape, Dad cornered me in the hallway. His voice was calm, but sharp enough to cut glass. You've been snooping. Playing dangerous games. Stop now, or you'll regret it. I met his stare, my hands shaking but my voice steady. I know what you did. I have proof. His eyes narrowed. Family is everything. Without us, you have nothing. For the first time in my life, I laughed at him. Then I already have nothing. And you're about to have less. He froze for just a second, long enough for me to see the panic behind the mask. Then he brushed past, muttering that I didn't know what I was doing. But I did. For once, I knew exactly what I was doing. Jonah and I walked straight into the insurance company with the recordings. Fraud investigators don't play around, and once they heard my mom bragging and Linda confirming, it was over. Calls were made, files pulled, questions asked. Suddenly, my parents weren't whispering about Jonah being a thief, they were the ones being investigated. At home, Mom screamed at me for betrayal. Dad tried threats, but the recordings shut him up fast. Their empire of control cracked right in front of me. Jonah's name was cleared, and for the first time I felt like I wasn't their scared little girl anymore. I'd beaten them at their own game. 6 months later, Jonah and I got married in a little garden wrapped in fairy lights. No chandeliers, no red napkins, no staged perfection, just us, our friends, and vows we actually meant. When we kissed, I felt something I'd never felt growing up under my parents' roof: freedom. They weren't invited. They didn't even try to come. And I didn't care. For the first time, I wasn't the girl living under their shadow. I was Jonah's wife, building a life on love, not lies. And I was happy. Truly, finally happy.